Good morning and welcome to Here's the Deal. Sarah and I have quite a bit to talk about regarding last week's biggest stories.
Yeah, it was an interesting one last week, and we're just gonna jump right in.
Oh yeah, just right into the deep end.
We're talking
sink or swim, baby.
We're talking Auburn.
Woo!
Ches, what's the deal?
Oh wow. So if you haven't heard the latest news, 3 Auburn softball players were arrested on 4/20 for possession of marijuana. Haley Fagan, Michaela Martin, and Brittany Marisette. They've been suspended indefinitely. And, there's been a whole lot of drama around the Auburn's softball program. So over the last 4 weeks, Corey Myers has resigned from the associate head coach position. We had the Haley Fagan, Tim Walton incident, during the high five line after the game. And then now this.
Yeah. What do you make of it? What's your take?
I think it's unfortunate. And we've seen a whole lot of the comments coming in as a result of an article that we put out last week reporting the news of all 3 players. It's unfortunate. It happens. And I think right now you can, softball is going to come to a point where they're not going to be treated any differently than a baseball player or a football player.
Sure.
That ends up as like this week's headline.
Yeah. Yeah, I think regardless of whether you think weed should be legal or illegal. Like, we're not going to discuss that. It's not the forum to discuss that. Mm-hmm. The point is, it is illegal in Alabama.
Yeah, I think I'm going to jump right in to say that Alabama has some pretty harsh drug laws. Mm-hmm. And when compared to a California, an Oregon, or a Washington, they may face some really steep penalties.
Yeah, so regardless of, it's legal in some states, it's illegal in most, regardless of what you think of the legality of it, it's illegal in Alabama. And they signed a contract to play in the NCAA saying they would not, do drugs and all this. So should they be punished? Absolutely.
Yes, 100%. I think at the end of the day, they're young adults that made a poor decision, and I don't even like to speak to like the moral implications of this whole story. It's very unfortunate. I know all 3 of them are going to learn from this, but I mean, it's at a time where they need to stay out of the limelight.
Right.
They don't need to be the subject of this show.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
After both incidences coming from the Auburn program and now this, and then after that, this happened after a game. And then the next day they were leaving for a road series. Right. I mean, what are you doing?
Right. Exactly. Do you think there should be a suspension? Do you think the suspension should be as long as a severe suspension as it was?
So Clint Myers, it's going to be in his hands on what he decides with those players. He could send a message and suspend them for the remainder of the year. I know one thing's for sure with the Auburn program right now, they need to start setting some boundaries.
Sure.
And unfortunately, there's always somebody who becomes the example of like what happens when you break rules. But at this point in time, the players, they're already suspended indefinitely. We don't know when he'll lift that suspension and whether the university is going to get involved as well. It's a mess.
It's
just a mess.
It's not where you want to be, getting close to postseason, especially with the turbulence that they've had already this season. So they're not sitting in a great place. How are you feeling about the rest of Auburn's season?
They took the series against South Carolina. They dropped the last game. But with them, they're not producing a whole lot of runs. Mm-mm. Drama aside, and when you lose a hot bat like Haley Fagans and their staple shortstop, and then their number 2 pitcher and Michaela Martin, that's a lot of responsibility and a lot of holes to fill for the Auburn Tigers, and I'm not so sure that they can recover.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be an uphill climb for Auburn the rest of the season. Just enough because of the emotional kind of upset and unrest that's, I'm sure, going on.
I mean, it's
right
pretty
now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just the last 4 weeks for Auburn.
It's something every week.
Yes.
I think there was a story every single week, and this one is not the type of story that they want, for sure.
No, absolutely not. But we're going to have to see. I have not seen a statement issued by the team or by the university, which I find to be a bit curious.
Yeah, this was
it's not something you sweep under the rug. I think there's 3 major things now that have happened, and obviously there was a statement issued by Corey Myers, but outside of the Haley Fagan, Tim Walton incident and this current incident, there has been nothing that I've seen in the press so far.
Yeah, I think it would behoove Auburn to kind of take this at least head on, whereas the Haley Fagan, Tim Walton incident, they kind of just move past.
Yeah, outside this whole controversy, I think what we're going to see in softball is everything is going to be elevated at this point. So if you're a student athlete, everything is out there, you guys. On Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, it's all out there, and you have to be careful about what you put out there and what you do in your free time. And I'm not saying that to scare people, because we all have made decisions that we're not proud of. That happens during the course of our lifetime. Yeah. Nobody has a perfect track record. Let's just put that out there. But you definitely need to be careful about the decisions you make in your free time.
Yeah, because I think it would be naive to believe that, underage drinking, marijuana, like it happens on every campus in the country. Doesn't excuse it.
Yeah, no.
But it happens, and it would be naive of us to think that it doesn't. And it would be, I think, detrimental to these young women to think that they're bad people.
Yeah, they're
because
not.
of this situation. They're not bad role models. They're not bad people. They made a choice, which was a poor choice, an illegal one. But it doesn't. I don't know these ladies personally, and I think we should be careful about judging their character as a whole based on a single, for at least 2 of these women, a single decision. I know Haley Fagan had a little bit of a run-in with Tim Walton, but I think we need to be careful in terms about thinking that they're such terrible role models or such terrible people. They did something illegal. They're going to pay. They're going to pay the price for it. And some would say they already did. But I mean,
well said.
Yeah. That's just my personal opinion. You guys can let us know in our comment section. We'd love to hear from you. I wish the best for all 3 of them. I hope that they, like you said, I'm sure that they're going to learn from this. And
I mean, they are suffering quite enough.
Yeah.
They are being punished. They're punishing themselves, I'm sure, way more than anybody could possibly punish them.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll see what happens with Auburn the rest of the season. One thing about Auburn, they're not going to roll over. If there's anything that we know about Auburn, they're not going to roll over. So, it would be a great comeback story, to kind of hear them rise out of the mud on this one, because they are the defending runner-ups. They got second last year. So we'll see what the rest of the season has in store for them, but it's going to be an uphill climb.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right. Moving on. Florida's pitching staff is untouchable.
That's right.
If you don't believe us, listen to these stats. Kelly Barnhill is 20-0. She has a .17 ERA. She has 230 strikeouts. People are batting 117 against her. Delaney Gorley, what's she doing?
She's 14-3. She's got a .94 ERA, 160 strikeouts, and an opponent's batting average of 177.
And if that's not enough, Alicia Ocasio is 8-0. She's a .86 ERA, and people are batting $144 against her. Like, are you kidding me? Kelly Barnhill, are you kidding me right now? She's a sophomore, everybody. A sophomore.
She's the human lawnmower, pretty much.
She's 0.17 ERA. I mean, that's like, what are we talking? That's like Jenny Finch ERAs, right?
I haven't seen numbers like this since, like, really... I don't even think Kat had that ERA.
That's what I'm saying. Like, well, you got to go back to, like, Lisa Fernandez, Jenny Finch kind of numbers. No offense to Kat. Kat's amazing. But I don't think she held a... Well, somebody let us know what ERA she held.
Fact check her.
Yeah, fact check me right now. But 0.17 ERA is unbelievable. 230 strikeouts. Man, I'm glad we had her number 2 in our Hot 100.
Yes.
I think we nailed that one.
Right? 2 on the same team. And not only that, so 3 straight shutouts against Ole Miss. Ole Miss did not put up... It was all bagels for
all bagels,
Ole Miss.
folks.
You know, we've talked about this Florida pitching staff all season. We know that they're the best in the nation, but still, they're still struggling to put up runs.
Yeah, well, I mean, I say this every week. It's deja vu for me from last year because we knew they had the best pitching staff in the country, and we thought that was going to carry them to a three-peat, and it failed them in Super Regionals. I'm on the record. They're going to Women's College World Series this year. They're not going to make the same mistake twice, but I do not think that they have the offense to carry them all the way to the championship.
The way that I look at it is that we know that Kelly Barnhill and Delaney Gorley are going to be the 2 horses that lead them there. Really, Florida, all you need to do is score 2 to 3 runs, and you're in good shape because those 2 aren't really giving up runs. And although Delaney Gorley took the 2 losses, it's not like she gave up 8 runs.
No. They're losing by
put
a couple runs on the board, Florida. Like
I hate to take from my own experience, but I know exactly what that feels like.
Yeah, talk us through that.
So for those of you who may not know my softball history, I played at the University of Texas. Kat Osterman was our pitcher, and we had the best pitcher in the world, but you know what? We struggled to put up runs, and we didn't end up winning the World Series.
Even
with the best pitcher in the world.
Yeah. In 4 years. Like, you guys went 3
times.
3 of the 4 years that you played there. And
we fell short. You know, that's how important it is to have that extra offensive piece to your game. And I don't know, I am a little worried about them offensively.
We'll see. We will see. Tell us what the deal with Tennessee is, Chaz.
Tennessee on the 20-game winning streak. The winning streak does come to an end in Baton Rouge against LSU, but you know what? They won the series, and this is a team who is kind of flying under the radar. Like, listen to this. Megan Gregg, 472 batting average, 10 home runs, and 66 RBIs. Brooke Vine, sophomore season, 397 batting average, 3 home runs, and 50 RBIs. Now, on the defensive end, for the pitchers, you got Maddie Moss and Kaylin Arnold sharing the load in the circle, and they're doing a damn good job.
Sophomore freshman combo right there. Both have ERAs under 2. They're both over 120 strikeouts on the season. I mean, it's a team that's flying under the radar that they shouldn't be flying under the radar anymore.
Yeah.
We've been talking about them pretty much for the last 3 weeks, I think. We've mentioned them, and we're like, hey, these guys are legitimate Women's College World Series contenders. You need to pay attention to them, as with Texas A&M in the SEC, because we're seeing
Both
LSU
sitting at the top.
We're seeing LSU, Alabama, Auburn fall, and we're seeing these other SEC teams like Tennessee and Texas A&M, who have typically not been in the top 5, end up in the top 5. So you need to pay attention to Tennessee. You need to pay attention to their underclassmen. I mean, Megan Gregg isn't, but Brooke Vines, Maddie Ross, Kaylin Arnold, they're all freshmen, sophomores. So it's a really great young, talented team. Here's the test for them. Florida next week.
Oh, yes.
Who's taking the series?
Florida. Sorry.
You don't think,
I'm not even gonna like hesitate to answer that.
I'm gonna try to make a conversation out of it.
Is gonna take the series.
You don't think those offensive numbers that you just read out are gonna play up against the pitching staff?
I'll take Kelly Barnhill and Delaney Gorley's pitching stats over their hitting stats.
Does Florida sweep them?
Tennessee might sneak one away.
I'm gonna give one. I'm gonna give one to Tennessee.
Yeah, I think they might. But I mean, it's just right now, Florida. Wow, that they're untouchable.
Yeah, they are. They're untouchable. That's what we said. We're sticking with it. Arizona, Oregon, moving to the Pac-12. We've been talking enough about the SEC.
Woo!
Going to the Pac-12. Walk us through Arizona, Oregon.
Oh wow, this is a series that this was the series that I wanted to watch out of all the games this weekend, and we'll get to another one that I was really excited about seeing. But Arizona versus Oregon. Last season, Oregon swept Arizona.
Sure did.
At Oregon, and now this year, Oregon travels to Hillenbrand Stadium to play the University of Arizona. Exciting series. Game 1, 2-0. Arizona wins. Megan Kleiss takes the loss. O'Toole takes the win. O'Toole, spectacular game 1. Now, keep in mind, the weather in Arizona is quite different than Oregon. We're talking about upper 90s. It is hot there, folks. And in game 2, I hope you watched that game because it was like an awesome game from beginning to end. 10-7, Arizona wins. Let's just break down the stats here. Arizona with 12 hits, 4 doubles, 1 triple, and 1 home run. And Oregon, they're no slouches either with 10 hits. Malga breaks the home run record in game 2 with 88 home runs. She's on record pace right now.
After having tied the record in game 1. So back-to-back games with a home run, breaking the record in game 2. And then you have Savekis for Oregon, has 2 home runs, to add to the, in their 10 hits. But we talked about this with Oregon at the beginning of the season and their massive amount of errors. They had 3 errors in that game. It seems like they maybe haven't cleaned up their defense quite enough yet.
I think they kind of shared the load defensively with 2 errors in the outfield and then 1 in the infield. I think one thing that definitely could help a defense is the tempo of the circle. So what I mean by that is you have Maggie Ballant and Miranda Elish in the circle. I think this was, let me just say that this was probably the biggest game that they've ever pitched. I mean, just imagine a jam-packed stadium at Arizona who has a long history of winning, and you've got 2 freshmen in the circle throwing in upper 90-degree heat against one of the most powerful offenses in the nation.
It was a good test for them.
Mm-hmm,
absolutely. I know, they struggled a little bit, but they struggled to throw strikes. They were a little wild. They're going up against the most high-powered offense, in my opinion, in the country right now. So I was excited to see them put to the test.
Mm-hmm.
As young pitchers, they're both going to have great careers. If we're looking at what they've been producing their freshman year so far. And it was a high-scoring game, 10-7. That's bananas.
Yeah, I think. Let's just credit both offenses. They're very dynamic throughout the lineup, but the slugging percentage numbers that Arizona is putting up is just crazy. And let's just talk about Katiana Malga, who is chasing the home run record, who is set by Lauren Chamberlain. She's at 88 right now. The record is 95. Do you think she'll break it?
Just some math for everybody. She needs 7 to tie and 8 to win.
She's on record pace right now. But
I think she's going to break it.
You think so?
I do. Lauren,
okay.
Let us know what you think about Malga on your heels. Let us know. Comment on our Comment on our live stream.
We need to hear from you.
We want to hear from Lauren Chamberlain. I mean, regardless of whether she breaks it or not, that's just unbelievable production from her, and it just mirrors the rest of the team. I mean, they're just
it's tough if you're pitching against Arizona. Who do you throw to? You know, you either throw to Katiana Mauga, or right behind her is Mo Mercado, and then right behind Mo Mercado is Jessie Harper,
and then Deja's in there somewhere.
Oh, Deja is yep. Deja is Deja.
You know, they're all exactly. It's a good point, and it's I would imagine that's why Ballant and Elish struggled to throw strikes. You can't zing one down the middle. It's going to go out the park.
Faux show.
So that was game 1 and game 2. Game 3, Oregon got the best of them.
Yep.
But it was a tight one.
It was a tight one, but 3 bombs for the Ducks.
I'll vote Tool.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon's going to get their fair share of runs. Don't count them out. I mean, I know they got shut out in game 1, but they're going to get their fair share. Clutch, Lindvall hit the home run to win the game. Big time there. What happened to Arizona in game 3?
It was just a good game. It's a back and forth game. And what I have to say about Oregon is that I'm excited about this program because they showed more fight and more grit than I have seen in a long time. And hopefully, Ballant and Elish can take this momentum and take that experience to improve their game because those two are very important to this pitching staff. I mean, we have Ballant, who's up for Freshman of the Year. She's up for Player of the Year. I think she's getting a lot more attention than she's ever has, but she needs to own it. Girl, you know what you're doing. Keep doing it and know that, you can compete with these top teams. They have some of the pieces that are essential. They clean up their defense a little bit, and they throw a little bit more strikes and not give up walks to one of the most productive offenses in the country. They're right in there.
Agreed. And I'm going to put a shameless plug in here for Hot 100. Miranda Elish was our number 1 player. Maggie Ballant was our number 4.
Yep.
So Brent Eads, you nailed that one.
Yeah.
Great job, Brent.
What was Deja?
Deja was number 5.
5?
Bailey Hemphill was number 3.
And then Nichols was 2.
Nichols was 2.
Right, yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Crushing it.
Boom.
Man. Brent Eads, nice job.
Memory.
Mm-hmm. Nice job. Moving on, a little cross-conference action with Washington and Alabama. I'm going to say I was surprised by this one. 2 weeks in a row, the Huskies have won their series against ranked opponents, and they swept this one.
Oh, yes. You know what? I'm not surprised. Here's why. The Washington Huskies were due, and they've gone to Tuscaloosa quite a few times since 2007. And I think it was their time to finally take the series. And in an environment that isn't the most fun to play in, it is crazy. They average, I believe, over 3,000 fans a game. And they go into Tuscaloosa and they straight handle business.
You know what? Alvelo versus Osorio was fun to watch.
Yes.
3-2. It was a tight game. Those are two of the best young pitchers in the game. Osorio is just overpowering with her strikeouts. I mean, she's just sit him up, get him up, sit him down type pitcher. And Avella's exciting to watch. Game 2, we talked about this a little bit with Alabama's offense. They get shut out 3-0. What's the deal there? Tell us the deal with Alabama's offense.
I think offensively they're not producing. Just plain and simple, they're not producing. And it's kind of similar to when we talk about Florida. They've got the stellar staff, and they don't give up a ton of runs.
Mm-mm. No, they don't.
They need to push some across, and right now I don't think really they're finding that synergy on offense that they would hope to be there. But it's there. Can they do it? Absolutely. We've seen them crush opponents. But right now, their offense is kind of it's a little fizzled right now.
Yeah, we've been talking about Littlejohn and Osorio, but more, we can't forget to mention her. You talk about Alabama's staff. We can't forget to mention Maddie Moore. They're all having they're not as dominant as Florida's staff, but it's a very, very good pitching staff.
It's good enough. I think it's good enough when you're battling in the SEC. You need some production on offense, and Little John gave up a couple of bombs, but they didn't answer back. You got to answer back.
All right. Got it. Heard it here first, folks. From Ches Severs, you got to answer back.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Moving to the Big 12. Oklahoma lost their first game in the Big 12. Baylor hands them a loss, but they take the series. Walk us through that series.
Whoa, game 1, Baylor versus Oklahoma was a nail-biter. It was a pitcher's duel. 10 innings.
10 innings. That's a marathon.
And Baylor had it. Baylor had it in the 10th inning, and then Fale Aviu with the walk-off double to seal the win for the Sooners. It didn't look good. I've got to be honest with you folks. It looked chaotic. If you watch the Oklahoma game, there were so many changes. There was changes on defense, changes behind the plate, changes in the lineup. I could not keep up with the amount of changes, and bless Patty Gasso, the mastermind behind that all, to keep that whole thing in order, because I wasn't sure what was going to happen. We talk about Paige Parker. She pitched a very good game, and then Paige Lowry comes in and gives up a couple runs. Not sure how this is going to end. But Baylor played a hell of a game in that game 1. Kelsey Selman pitched a great game against a very potent Oklahoma Sooners team, but at the end, the Sooners with the comeback. It was a great game to watch.
Yeah. What about game 2?
Game 2, Baylor
it's a tight
wins.
one. Baylor wins by 1.
I think that was just revenge. Honestly, I think Kelsey Selman was pissed after losing the game in the bottom of the 10th inning.
If a 4-3 game 2 win for Baylor is revenge, then a 6-0 OU win in game 3 is a revenge win for the Sooners. They left kind of no doubt in the third game, just shutting them out. Bagels, as Ches would say. But would you believe it that Oklahoma State is tied for Oklahoma at the top of the Big 12?
I would not believe it. And man, I've
left Ches Severs speechless.
I'm a bit speechless right now with the Big 12.
Baylor sits in 3.
I have personal feelings.
Baylor sits in 3rd at 9-3, and then it drops off. Texas is 4-8. So it's really it's a run between Oklahoma State, and then Baylor there in 3rd. But the Sooners look to have put their inconsistency from the beginning of the season kind of in the rearview mirror at this point, and they are on the Boomer Sooner train. Big Ten. Minnesota is 43-3. Ches. Minnesota.
That's right, Sarah. That's right, and they're number 1 in the Big Ten. And Michigan just took another loss this past weekend.
I'm gonna talk about Sarah Groenewegen again because she has a .52 ERA.
Go ahead.
She has 203 strikeouts on the season, and people are batting a $164 against her. I don't have anything to say about that.
I think Minnesota is a special team this year, and they're going to give some people trouble come postseason. I have a feeling about them. I think let's just talk about the offensive end. Freshman catcher Kendall Lindemann batting .409, 15 jacks, and 54 RBIs. Junior infielder Sidney Dwyer batting .387, 8 home runs, and 60 RBIs. This is a team that's got a little bit of both. So you have Sarah Groenewegen, and then you have some great offensive production that you're getting from a freshman and a junior.
Do you think Minnesota's going to hold off Michigan?
I think so.
Michigan's 14-3.
I think it's time.
Michigan's 14-3 in the conference. Minnesota is 16-1. Overall, Michigan has 10 losses on the season. Minnesota only has 3.
Yeah, I wish I had the stat handy, but Michigan has won a significant amount of Big Ten conference championships in a row.
think it's time somebody else.
I think it's time. I think it's the Gophers.
Share the goods.
It's time for the Gophers.
Go Gophers.
Yeah.
All right.
Gopher or go home.
Oh boy, we're gonna slide right on by that one. We're jumping ship from college, and we are talking NPF.
That's happening tonight. Who's excited?
Tonight, 7 p.m. I believe is when it starts. We're gonna break it down by position: pitcher, catcher, infield, outfielders. In terms of our favorite picks, Ches, start us off with none other than the pitchers because.
That's the pitchers are going to be, I think, the first ones to go. Yeah. Everybody needs a little bit of pitching. The Bandits are going to need pitching. The Pride are going to need pitching. Everybody needs their pitchers. We've got some good ones this year. And remember, they all have to agree to go play in the NPF, but these are the ones that are notable to us as potential draftees. So we've got Jessica Burrows for Florida State. She's got a little bit of everything. She's got curve, screw, down ball, rise ball, off speed. I would not be surprised to see her go to the Pride.
Yeah.
That's just my...
That's just Chez's...
That's my hunch.
That's what she's taking here.
Yes. Folks. And then, obviously, we talked about her earlier, Sydney Littlejohn for Alabama. Mm-hmm. She's got great stuff, although she took that loss.
Right. Sure.
And then Sierra Highland from Cal Poly. I hope somebody's looking at her if USA's not. Kelsey Selman from Baylor, who's having an outstanding senior campaign. And Megan Betza and Sarah Grunewagen, who've talked about from the Big Ten.
I'm on the Sarah Grunewagen trend. Mm-hmm. I've been on it all year. And then to round out our picks for pitchers, we got Sydney O'Hara from Syracuse and Kendra Lynch from UNC.
I like those two. You know why? They bring an offensive component that the other pitchers don't have. So they're a pitcher who can spot a few innings for you, but can also handle their business in the box.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to
go number one?
Well, I mean, who's going to be the first pitcher off the board? We don't know if they're going to be number one or not. I would assume.
Great question.
Who's going to be the first pitcher off the board?
Wow. See, I think the Pride have the first pick, but I think they need an up baller.
Yeah.
So somebody who can throw a rise ball, because most of their pitchers historically have been mostly down ball pitchers, but against the top hitters, we've seen Monica Abbott just literally annihilate hitters. It's tough, man. I wouldn't be surprised with a Jessica Burrows. You can't deny her numbers.
No, she's fantastic.
She's having a great year, and she has a little bit of everything. But I don't know, you guys. I really like Sierra Highland. I think she's a complete package. She can also hit, but possibly Jessica Burrows.
I think Megan Betza might go number one.
You think so? I don't know. So. Yes. I just think how she is health-wise,
sure,
is a question for me.
Sure, that's a valid question. Are there any pitchers that we're missing from this list?
Of course. You guys are probably wondering, why haven't we named Delaney Gorley and Daniel O'Toole? Well, those two will be participating with the USA team. So kind of the implications of their schedule, I would imagine, is it's tough to add those two to an NPF roster. They
got last year they did draft players playing for USA. It was the first year that USA players were allowed to play in the NPF. Do you think the Pride drafted a couple of them? They drafted McClenny,
yep. Mm-hmm. Stewart.
They drafted Stewart. Do you think it would stop them from drafting a Gorley or O'Toole?
O'Toole's the question for me because she's an alternate. But I don't think they're going to go that route. They need their solid, day in, day out players. I don't think they would. It's tough. Could you imagine if you had a college team right now and your starting shortstop was only there like, a fifth of of the time.
Yeah.
I think that's really tough to swallow, as far as like adding a player like that to your roster.
Moving on to the catchers, the other half of the batter, we only came up with Savannah Jaquish. That was it.
No, there's some other ones, but Savannah Jaquish is the number one, like catcher in my mind.
Sure.
To draft. There's another player. Pull her up real quick.
And Jaquish, the funny thing about Jaquish is she hasn't been catching. She's played third base much of her college career. Kind of got moved to catcher last year. Well,
it's
in the defensive shakeup.
Yeah, in club she
was a great catcher.
Yes,
she was solid.
Illinois State, Jordan De Los Reyes, putting up good numbers. That's another potential draftee. And let's move on.
Catchers aren't getting any love today, folks. I feel you. I used to be a catcher. Ches wants to talk about the infielders.
Yeah.
Because she used to be an infielder.
Because they're the best.
That's an opinion.
No, they're just really good.
Infielders. Ches, go. Take us away.
All right. This is a jackpot here. Katiana Mauga, Mo Mercado, Alex Powers, Nikki Udria, Lindsay Cargill, Chelsea Gonzalez, Chloe Miller. Those are some of my top ones for
Alex
infield.
Powers?
Heck yeah.
Alex Powers? Forgot her. I was just, making sure that.
Well, I'm making you remember.
got their due here.
No, Alex Powers, she is a great role player, and she's going to get her doubles. The girl can swing the bat, like hands down. Katiana Mauga, obviously one of the top third basemen you can draft, on pace to break the home run record. But she would be a great addition to anybody's lineup. Not to mention Mo Mercado, who's right behind her, who plays a stellar shortstop and can swing the bat. I mean, you can't, those two are right up there.
Who's the first one that comes off the board, Ches?
Ooh. I would have to say, it's between Katiana Mauga or Mo Mercado, I would say.
I'd say Mauga, especially if she breaks the home run record. Because we saw that with Chamberlain. She came off there pretty quick. So I'm going to say Katiana Mauga is going to be off the board first in that strong infield pack that we have chosen.
It'll be fun to watch. I'm always surprised at the draft. I usually, somebody out of left field comes into the draft and it's awesome. Sometimes they take the top D2 player, which is perfectly possible. It depends on what that team needs. But I think every single, we were highlighting the pitchers a ton because I think that's what every team is going to be after. I feel like the Scrapyard Dogs are maybe set pitching wise. They've got some good ones, so we'll see.
Just a couple, woman named Monica Abbott. She's not really a big deal, but
Oh, that pitcher.
That pitcher. Okay, outfielders. We're rounding it up with outfielders. Nicole Evans, Nikki Prince. Nicole Evans from Illinois and Nikki Prince from James Madison.
Illinois is having a pretty good year.
They're not having a bad season.
Yeah, they beat Michigan, and Nicole Evans is having a great offensive year. And you could say the same for Nikki Prince from James Madison. Both might be under the radar, and but we'll see. We'll have to see tonight. We'll post all the results from the NPF draft on our website in case you miss it. And very, very excited to see who decides to go pro.
Well, that's the deal, folks.
Yep, that's the deal.
We gave you the deal. Every Monday, we're giving you the deal.
Yep, we talked about arrests. Which we talked about...
wasn't expecting to talk about this week, but talked about arrests. We gave you the top stories in college softball. And then we broke down a little bit of the draft for you, too.
Right. And... So what's coming up for FloSoftball? We have got our Hot 100 2021 rankings coming out next week. Next week, Sarah.
Next week, folks.
We've literally received hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of nominations for the 2021 class. Then we have a new film coming out, Lauren Chamberlain. We did a film with her at the end of March. I'm very excited to share this story with you guys.
I'm super pumped for this story. We're getting a real and authentic, genuine discussion with Lauren about like the highs and lows of being a top college player and a professional softball player. It's going to be real. It's going to be authentic. It's going to be entertaining because it's Lauren Chamberlain.
She's uncensored.
I'm super, super excited for this film. I can't wait for it to come out.
Yeah, our next few films are going to be
pretty
tight.
on point. They're on point.
Yeah. And then on the technique side, you're going to see more technique from Washington and then also Utah. So
who is not the dark horse anymore.
No longer.
And they have some things that we can all learn from because they're solid.
Yeah, so stay tuned. We've got another new show. The Hot 100 show is coming out Thursday, where it'll feature me and Brent Eads talking about the biggest recruits in our game. Very excited. We're going to start bringing in some guests to talk about some of these top recruits.
We got it all. We got club, we got college, we got pro.
It's all here.
It's all right here. And that's the deal.
Cool. See you guys next week.